right, so I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:03. Can I get someone to accept the agenda, please? Make a motion. Jessica's making a motion. Okay, and
I'll
Ethan
second.
is okay. You got that?
Yep, got it.
All right. All those that are in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Perfect. Thank you for that. Communications with parents, citizens, and staff. I don't see anybody here other than us monkeys. So I'm going to say that nobody else wanted to talk to us at this point. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. I am going to take off job descriptions just because there had been a question about that last month. But can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item E?
So moved.
So moved. Yeah.
All right, so first by Jess and second by Robin. Any discussion? Oh, there isn't. Never mind. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you. All right, job descriptions. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Deb, to talk about that one job description that there had been a question about last month.
Sure. The one job that was questioned, it was called a practical skills teacher, and it's at the high school level. And the question was just sort of like, what would that look like? And in speaking with Michael, it would primarily be at the high school, although it may dip into some of the middle school classes. And it would include topics of wellness, personal finance, food, and nutrition. So it's a general education position. It would be held by somebody with a health, facts, or potentially a business education position. A lot of times that would be, they would determine sort of what it would look like that year based on sort of the need and desire of the students. So
So there isn't one this year then?
no,
Not currently.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And could any of our facts or teachers that we currently have teach this or
Potentially.
potentially?
Like based on what I'm seeing here of what it could be held by, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it says business facts
Yeah.
or health endorsement.
Right.
Okay. So it's more of a general class than just taking personal finance or just taking a general.
And when you say facts, is that F-A-C-T-S?
Family,
FACS.
family and consumer science.
Yeah, family and consumer science, FACS.
Thank you.
Yep. Sorry.
No worries.
Any other questions for Debbie about that position?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so can I get someone to make a motion to approve the job descriptions, please? Since I should have done that before.
So moved.
Thank you, Robin. Is there a second?
I'll
Jess,
second.
thank you. All right. All of those in favor, please
Aye.
say, there you go. Thank you. Say
Aye.
aye. Perfect.
Aye.
All right. 2 days in a row. Apparently I can only do this once in a, can't do it twice. All right. Moving on. Presentation. Overview of curriculum.
Okay. This is our continuous improvement plan that we have really reduced over the course of the this is our third presentation on it this week, or in the last 3 days, 3 out of 3 days. So we have really narrowed it down to just a little bit. So we want to make sure that RNESU hears about it because it's already been presented to both OVU and BUU. Okay. So we've narrowed it down to just make sure that we describe what a continuous improvement plan is. The state requires that supervisory unions, school districts, and schools complete a plan that shows what they're planning on working on this year, depending upon the needs that they determined from the year before. And so this continuous improvement plan needs to be filed every 2 years. So the last time that we did one as a supervisory union was 22, or yeah, 21, 22.
21, 22.
And so we review student data, whether it's academics, dropout, SEL, graduation, that type of data. We want to make sure that we're taking care of the student learning, professional learning, and making sure that we are also including safe, positive learning environments, not just academics. And we need to make sure that we get it approved by the school board. All right. Now we move into the components of the CIP.
Great. So as Renee mentioned, we look at both academics and safe and healthy schools. So we have two goals in safe and healthy schools, and they are more defined in specific language in the continuous improvement plan. The one goal is refinement of our systems, thinking about our referral systems, in regards to referrals, interventions, and data collections, as well as a focus on Tier 1, thinking about instruction, skill building, programming, and this is really thinking about the delivery and from our school counselors, thinking about our instruction, as well as our classroom teachers. We had SWIS is our data collection system, if you will. So that is not new. We've been using that for 10 years now. So that isn't something new. Sabres is a new screener that we're going to be using. Panorama we were using before as a screener. We're using Sabres now, but we're shifting that a little bit to use that as a climate and culture screener. Second step is an SEL program, social and emotional learning program, that we will continue to use. Our school counselors will continue to use that. Our classroom teachers 2 through 6 have access to that now. Our kindergarten and first grade and second grade classes have access to the SPOTS curriculum, and Prevent Child Abuse goes from kindergarten all the way through grade 6. So we really have sort of have a lot of pieces in place, and our school counselors will be taking all of this and really articulating the model for us, so that we have everything written down, and that also allows us to say, what are we missing? Sort of what other things do we need to put in place? So, and it will actually inform sort of even following years as well. So when we think about, do you want to move to the next slide? Or can I do that?
Oh, you want to
Yes,
go
I can.
to math or to English?
What's that?
Math or English?
ELA, I think we're there now.
Yeah.
So our ELA goal is thinking about, while we want to be, we want all of our learners to be there. An intermediate goal will be 70% of our learners to be reading at or above grade level. Our measures are our local and our state assessments by June of 2026. We have brought on the Reading League. It's a nonprofit organization. They're while they go ahead and review curriculums and programs and things like that, they are not they're not tied to any, so they're a really good place. They're a nonprofit, so we actually can have their services for relatively an affordable price, so that's helpful to us. So we brought on their services. They are supporting us in pre-K 6, also, as well as our special educators and interventionists, pre-K 12, and they're providing us evidence-based literacy instruction this year. We are thinking about, there's sort of a little quote here that it comes from when you're thinking about Scarborough's reading rope, in that the idea is that we need to make sure that all the strands of instruction and all the strands of learning are strong, because if there's any pieces that are not strong, that is why we have our students that are unable to read. We have some great new things that we've added. We've added Lilo, which is a K2 product from Renaissance. It is online, and it is a program. It's of course, an artificial intelligence program that can help students fill in some of the gaps for reading. And we also have Freckle. Well, that's for math that you'll learn about when we talk about reading. We talk about math. We have Fast Bridge assessments in math as well, Fast Bridge assessments, also screeners, to be able to tell what little pieces, when I talk about that reading rope, sort of like what parts are missing. Our teachers are screening where they're looking just for the pieces that are missing in instruction, and then they are matching up the instruction to what the students need. So it's really about assessing and then matching the instruction up to that. So in math, we have set a goal of 60% of learners in 2006 will be on or above grade level in our local and state assessments. Last year, we acquired a grant from, it was sort of, I think they sort of collected up some of the final ESSER funds, and we refreshed all of our Bridges 2 materials, which sort of transitioned into Bridges 3 materials. So we're all set to transition to Bridges 3 with the professional development that we'll have next year for that. We have brought on Freckle, which is a program that can be used for intervention as well for our math learners. We have STAR assessment for math as well as Fast Bridge assessment. Again, it's a screener to be able to inform instruction, and we'll also be exploring a math program this year for middle school math. We may stick with illustrative math, which is what a lot of our sixth grade learners are using at Barstow and in the elementary schools. Who knows, we may end up staying there, but we still need to explore that because it just doesn't feel as though we've got sort of a smooth transition from 5th grade up to 9th grade. So, and EduClimber, I did sort of put that in there. EduClimber, one of the big sort of threads that goes through all of our safe and healthy and our academic goals is that we are going to become more data literate, and EduClimber is the system that we purchased last year and spent the whole year just dumping data into, and we're beginning to use it already this year, and that's just extremely exciting, and we'll be able to use that moving forward. So, yes. Great. Oh, I didn't realize that was in there. So
I like it so much, it has to be talked
it has
about
to be
again.
in there. So, great. So the piece that actually holds all of this together is our RNESU team of teams. And when you think about a multi-tiered system of supports, one of the tenets of that is our effective collaboration, and it means that all of our school teams all collaborate well. So we're very choosy about who is on our school PBIS team, who is on our school MTSS team, as well as how our data teams are run so that they can all communicate well. You can kind of see the arrows that move between them. And then you can also see all of how the arrows go between the RNESU teams that are sort of up on the top here. So we will be actually running our first RNESU MTSS team meeting on the 30th of September, as soon as our first set of screeners are done. And on that team, we'll have representation from every single school, and then every single sort of position that's on the school MTSS teams will be on the RNESU MTSS team. So we'll have a principal, we'll have a PBIS coordinator, we'll have a school counselor, we'll have a special educator, an interventionist, and a few different teachers at different levels. So we'll have representation across schools and across sort of positions to be able to come together and share data that way. We also will have an RNESU PBIS team to be able to, although we want all of our schools to absolutely keep doing what they're doing, we want to start sharing data in that way as well, and start thinking about, there's a few things that we want to start sort of coming together across the board. One example we talked about last night is thinking about, so for example, what was the what did we use last night? What was the one sort of behavior that we used last night? Dysregulation or disruption, I think
Yeah,
it was.
disruption, yeah.
Disruption. So making sure that we identify what is a disruption and that we sort of all think about that in the same way, so that when we're noting that in our systems, we're all noting it the same way. So we'll be able to do that in this team. So exciting stuff.
Debbie. So I'm mixing it up at least to discuss the equity supports for these last two slides. So Vermont had to submit an Every Student Succeeds Act plan to the federal government in order for us to receive our title money. As a part of that, the state had to include an accountability system for each school, district, and supervisory union. And so this accountability information is located at the snapshot, the Vermont snapshot on the AOE website. And so I've included a link there. But one of the things I wanted to do today was show you the 5 different components of it: academic proficiency, personalization, safe and healthy schools, high quality staffing, and investment priorities. And each one of these is broken out into multiple other characteristics as well, but I didn't include those on this particular presentation. And to the right of it, you'll see how they are being measured. So one of them is, what is the current performance? So our most recent snapshot was 2023. And then was there a change from 2022 to 2023? Then the last two have to do with gaps. So the equity index current means, is there a gap between one group and another group that's fairly large? And then the equity index means, has it continued over time? And so, and these particular, they give essentially words to describe how we're doing as opposed to numbers. So within academic proficiency, so this is for our current performance. So academic proficiency, we're approaching. That's fantastic. And the only one that we need to learn more about is our personalization. Personalization, too, hasn't been fully realized by the state. There's still a couple of components that they haven't rolled out. But all of this information is self-reported, or much of this information is self-reported. So we will have to, as we turn in our data for this year, make sure that it's completely correct. For our performance change from 2022 to 2023, in academic proficiency and in personalization, we're doing a good job. So we're doing really well, meaning that our change from one year to the next has gone up, whereas for the final 3, it's been declining.
And I think our high quality staffing will see a shift in that just when we have a high number of provisional licenses, and we see when those sort of shift into, no longer provisionals, those will.
Right. So now when we get to talking about the gaps, for our current status is within academic proficiency, we're not meeting, meaning that we have, the gaps are wider than they should be, and our personalization, we're also not meeting. Now, over time, even though we're not meeting it, we're actually declining. And then for personalization, we're staying the same, we're not improving. But with safe and healthy schools, over time, we're excelling. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I included was the summative determination. So the state says we're approaching proficiency as a district and we're currently improving. So according to what the state believes, RNESU as a collective body is doing okay, and we're getting better even though we're okay. But this particular purple square is what I want to talk about next. So we at RNESU, as well as some of our schools, have been identified as Equity 1, meaning that we need to have some support in closing gaps. Because for the way that our scores read is that we're not having an equitable outcome for all groups. And so the state wants to be sure that we're focusing on that gap and improving the outcomes for all students, not just one set of students. And so the state has given us this year, since we're Equity 1, they're just going to be working with us on our continuous improvement plan, and they're going to have meetings that we need to attend so that way they can make sure that we're addressing the equity gap. So for the school, this is a list of the schools and the Equity 1 categories for which they need to focus on as we're planning our professional development, as well as our curriculum and instruction and technology purchases. Man, can't talk. So Barstow, Lothrop, and Neshabie all have a gap between their historically marginalized and their historically privileged students. And RNESU, as a supervisory union, has gaps with free and reduced lunch, special education, and historically marginalized students. This is something that we really have to take to heart as we're planning our budget, planning any purchases that we have for curriculum, any special professional development that we're having for our teachers, to make sure that we're identifying these issues so that way people will know that these are things that we as a supervisory union are working on. That's it.
Does anyone have any questions?
Hey, can you email me that presentation?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one.
Sure, go ahead,
Yes.
Robin.
This historical gap, is this ever going to be normal? Is this the numbers game? I mean, are we ever going to have a good ratio of that? If we have, maybe I'm ignorant in what is the sample we're drawing from? Won't it always be historically off?
Well, my hope would be no, that it wouldn't always be. I think once we recognize that we may have that if we're only having maybe one or two ways that we're teaching a particular lesson, or we're focusing on interventions for specific students, that we are taking these things into consideration. And so if we were, I think almost any other state, historically marginalized as a category doesn't exist, but because Vermont is so small and fairly homogeneous, the only way that students who are historically marginalized might will come out in a disaggregated set of data is if they're grouped together. And so that puts a strong onus on us to make sure that we're serving all of our students. Although OV and OCA aren't listed here, one, that's fantastic, but then two, it could be that their categories of students may not have risen to the heights or the numbers that that the other schools have. So that's just something we have to keep an eye on as well.
I had another question. Something flashed by when we were talking about all those little programs. It's just ignorance on my. What is Scribble? It had a little. Yeah, it's in one of those little. What was Scribble?
Scribble.
It's in the first slide, I think.
So that is,
Oh, there it is.
yeah, so that is the little spots guy. So
Yeah.
that is just one component. I actually wondered if I'd confuse people with that. So that is a part of the spots program. It's a highly engaging social emotional learning program that is used by our K1 and a little bit of K2. It's
Okay.
yeah, they're these little emotion spots, and they help kids to sort of name different emotions and how we use them in different ways. So, and they each look a little different. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's great because when
Thank you.
it's great because when students don't have the words to describe what they're feeling, they can look at the spectrum of dots and pick a dot to explain how they're feeling.
The best
Gotcha.
the best example I ever had was a student said one day that my anger spot is really big, so I know that I need to make my calm spot bigger. That sort of, that sort of understanding. So, and that was a kindergartner. So,
Nice.
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, we are going to move on to our monitoring report, 2.5, emergency superintendent succession. Can I get someone to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank
To
you.
approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jess. Okay, any discussion on 2.5, emergency superintendent succession? Okay, hearing none, all of those that approve the monitoring report 2.5, emergency superintendent succession, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, thank you. That was quick. See if the next one will be so quick. So the next one is our board policy monitoring report 3.1, unity of control. It should be in your packet, and you have last year's there, and I'm just wondering if we need to update anything other than the dates that we've reviewed it. Okay.
I don't think so.
Hearing none, I'll say that we've gone through that. We don't need to approve it since it's our own policy.
Mhm.
All right. And we're going to keep moving on. Appoint negotiation reps for both teachers and parabus drivers. So I will tell you that OVUU has 3 members of the board that are willing to serve on both the teacher negotiations and on the parabus drivers. But I think it makes sense that we have at least one RNESU member on either one of those committees, since Barstow, I don't think you guys don't have anybody on either one of those committees, do you?
Well, we talked about it, although when I looked back on our agenda, it wasn't on there, but we talked about it Monday night, because I said I would do the para bus drivers, but I didn't know that Barstow had one.
I was going to say, I think it was you, Jessica.
If Barstow doesn't have one, then I'll do this one.
Jeff Spalding is our Spalding is our staff one, and I thought
Okay.
you signed up for something.
All right. Okay. And then it's Jeff Spalding. Okay. Perfect. Well, the house. Okay. So we should just approve that. Well, so then we don't really need any RNESU members on that.
So is Jeff Spalding on the teachers,
Yes. Yep.
Jessica on the pair?
Jessica on the pairs. Yep.
Thank
All right. So we are going to continue going on. Let's see. We need to designate our proxies for the Visbit VHI annual meeting at Lake Maury on October 25th, 2024. I will be there for that 2-day training. So I'm willing to be the proxy if it is okay with the rest of you.
I move to nominate Lori to be the proxy for us.
Thank you,
I
Ethan.
second it.
Thank you, Robin. Any
All in
discussion?
favor?
All in favor. Look at that. All right, there we go. Thank you for that. Awesome. All right. You also need to designate a proxy for the VSBA annual meeting, which is October 17th, which is virtual. I'm also willing to do that one as well if you're so inclined.
Absolutely. I'll make the motion for Lori to be the proxy for that.
Okay.
I'll second. Thank you.
Perfect. And all in favor? Perfect.
Aye.
Aye, look at that. Okay. So, last piece of the puzzle for tonight before we do the superintendent report. We need to talk about our planning process for the superintendent search. So, I've had a couple of people ask me about it, and they wanted it to be a little bit more formalized at this point. So, my goal, and of course you guys need to approve this because it's our decision, is to kind of do what we did in the last two searches, which is do it ourselves. VSBA has offered to be a consultant for us at the cost of $12,000. And the last time that we had the VSBA help us, we were all fighting for the two same people, and we ended up hiring within. So, and I think I learned a lot from Elaine, and I think we can do it ourselves. But that's up to you guys.
I agree.
We all.
I am in agreement. Yep.
Okay, because I don't think our community is gonna like going out there and saying we're spending $12,000 on a consultant.
No.
I just don't. Okay, so and then so my other thought is that we will start the process in November. We'll probably put it up on School Spring mid-October or so. We'll leave it up obviously until it closes, but we'll start meeting early November to go through the process. And my hope is that we'll have someone in place by February at the very latest. So, just so that it's in the minutes, if everybody would kind of, if we could approve that kind of plan, I would appreciate it.
Is February pretty on
Yeah.
line with typical?
That, yeah, if we have somebody, that gives us plenty of time to do transition if we need to. Yeah, I would think that, and then that way, it also helps with, any staff that we need to be, any staff changes, that it should be an easy transition, hopefully. Or it'll be an easier transition, we're not scrambling at the end. And we may have someone in place by January, who knows, but I would like the process done by February at the latest.
Oh, no, I didn't know if, no, I was
Oh.
definitely by
Yeah,
February. I
yeah.
was wondering if that was too late.
No, I think so. I mean, it all depends. What I'll probably do is get together with Melinda, and we'll go through the our plan from last time, and kind of set up the same kind of dates, and then it'll all depend on who we get for applicants, and where we go from there. Okay. Can someone make that motion? All right.
moved.
So the motion is necessary, is that we will start the process and, yeah. What? Go ahead, yeah,
Approve the timeline for the superintendent search as noted above.
yeah, there we go. All
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
right, did someone want to, was there a first?
I think so. There's only three.
All right, perfect.
Jessica was.
All right, there we go. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, perfect. Superintendent, informational report.
Things to highlight. Let me get back to the agenda. Things to highlight. As part of the packet, you'll see information about our students who are enrolled in Stafford Tech currently. The number's just under 40. Other things that I'd like to highlight is the letter from Governor Scott, as well as the VSBA and VSA budgeting resource. I think they're kind of like dueling banjos, if you will. One of them, there's one came first, then the other was written afterwards. These are things that I think as school boards and superintendents we're going to have to rectify and really be brave in communicating with our community and coming forth with the information so that they can make certainly an informed vote when it comes to it. But our responsibility is to be as transparent and as urgent for our students as possible.
Yeah, and that just reminds me, OVUU on their October 1st meeting is having all the legislative people come. So that's the 3 Rutland County senators. I'll also invite the Addison County senators as well, since Whiting and Leicester and Goshen are actually in Addison County. Maybe not Goshen, but the other 2 are. And we will also invite all of the representatives as well. So if you, especially you Barstow members, if you would like to be there, please feel free to sign on. We'll start that meeting at 6 o'clock. And then that way, if you have any questions, you can talk to them. And one of the nice things is that Peter Conlon, who is our representative for Goshen, Leicester and Goshen, definitely. He is the chair of the education committee for the legislature. So he's a good one to be able to sound off from, and I'm hoping that he'll listen to us and that they'll do some, what we need to do is be able to tell them exactly what we're feeling on this end, and that they need to make some major changes up there in order to take the heat off of our property taxes and our community members. So feel free to join us if you'd like to. And RNESU will also take a much more active role in what's going on up there in Montpelier when the time comes. So, which is all of us. Okay? Sorry.
Oh no, that's it.
That's it? My goodness, that's it. All right. Anything else that we need to talk about? No? All right. Well, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. There's a second.
Sure. I'll second.
All right. Third and fourth. All right. Bye. Good night.